America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all. Chief, would you call the roll, please? Sullivan. McGrath. Here. Lee. Collins. Here. Childers. Present. Bessler. Here. Owen.
Here. We're going to begin tonight with 207's Best for Academic Achievement. It's always a favorite part of our meetings. We're going to go ahead and start with Minnie West. Audrey?
I would like to introduce you to Anna Remus. Anna, please stand. Yay. We are honoring Anna this evening for her academic prowess, but she could be any of the categories in 207's Best. She's an absolutely incredible kid who approaches everything with all of her heart and all of her spirit, which is pretty cool. When I put out the nominations, not only did I have tons of teachers recommend her, but also write about her. I had to actually edit what teachers were saying because they wouldn't stop talking about her because she's that incredible. I found a quote that identifies her very well. I'm seeking, I'm striving, I am in it with all my heart. And when she puts her mind to something, she definitely gets it done. She's in, obviously, our hardest classes. She's taken AP everything all throughout all of her high school career. She balances that with dancing outside of school. She's a musician. She sings, awesome cello player, and spends 1 million hours at Maine West just doing everything possible. She's the vice president of the principal's leadership team, so I've gotten to spend a lot of time with Anna, and I'm very thankful for that because when we have something that we need to accomplish in our school, we go to Anna, and Anna gets it done. So just a remarkable young lady. I want to read some of the things that some of the teachers say about her. Actually, I want to start with what Anna says about herself, which was pretty incredible. I do what is needed to make what is up front run smoothly. I'm the person tying up loose ends, making behind-the-scenes choices, and organizing the plan. I don't do loud leadership. I have a strong sense of what is right, moral, important, what should be. I'm hardworking. If I know what I want, if I know I want something, I make it happen, and not just by wishing. I'm not one to shy away from something hard. I'd attribute much of that success to just trying. So she does much more than just try. She sets her mind to something. And a cool example I can give you is we decided last year that we were going to combine our junior and senior prom. In the past, it was always junior prom by itself and senior prom by itself. But given the condensed calendar, we were running out of days. And we decided it was much better to just combine them. And Anna said, no, I don't think that's a great idea. She got some people together, and she was very creative with the calendar and proposed a different date, which was the perfect solution. We just moved it earlier. We were all, as adults, this can't work. We can't do it in May this year, instead of looking at some dates that would work. We had to move some things around, but Anna's persistence, in a really positive and polite way, got it done, and the prom was a huge success. And it's on the calendar again this year as a separate junior prom and a separate senior prom. So kudos to Anna for getting that back. Another really neat thing about Anna, if you check out her hair, I'm going to ask you to look at her hair actually. She's got this beautiful head of naturally curly hair that used to be like way down her back when she was a sophomore. And she came into my office and asked if it would be okay if she took part, or told me that she was going to take part in the St. Baldrick's Challenge for cancer research, and she shaved that beautiful head of hair her sophomore year, and she's going to do it again this year for such a great cause. So just a really neat young lady who's willing to give so much of herself to other people. Okay, some of the things that her teachers have said about her. Mr. Fouts, her AP government teacher, says, Anna is able to question in a way that drives discussion in a positive and meaningful directions. She's passionate with her opinions, yet able to step back and process opposing ideas in good faith. These are mature qualities which will position her for great leadership success in whatever profession she chooses. Her Spanish AP teacher had just met her and said, I've had Anna only for a couple of weeks, but I already discern her driven seriousness of purpose combined with a gentle, kind, and humble personality that will make her successful in any future endeavors. Mr. Tavano, her AP English teacher, says, Anna is such a great kid. I got to know her at first through working in coach as she tutored her peers. Now she's in my English Lit and Comp AP class. Anna always comes into class with a smile and a curious, diligent attitude. She volunteers in class all the time, and her insights are consistently valued by me and her classmates. She's a bright young lady with a bright personality, a stout foundation. And Dr. Papa George, who is here tonight, added, I had the pleasure of having Anna in AP English in comp last year. She was polite, positive, and a thorough student. More than that, she was committed to ideas and had an inquisitive mind. In Anna, there is a precision and intelligence that are uncommon, and as the year drew on, her humor and wit emerged importantly as well. I was the beneficiary of her strong, year-long research project on the concept of dialectic, and I was thoroughly impressed with her final project. He recommends her as perhaps the highest, or the strongest academic student he has had in the last year or two, which is a great credit to Anna. She's ridiculously busy at school. She balances all sorts of things outside of school, and she is definitely one of my favorites and 207's best in the area of academic achievement. Anna, if you would introduce who's here with you tonight, and then tell us what your plans are next year.
I came with my mom and my dad.
And who else is here with you? You got a
This is
couple
Ben.
people.
This is Mr. Harper. This is Dr. Papa George. And I know Mr. Francis.
That's good.
And what are your plans? What are your plans next year?
I'm still applying for college. I don't really know what I'll go into. I have a lot of interests. So,
Top choice school, do you have one or no?
Princeton.
Princeton. Awesome.
Awesome.
Congrats, Anna.
Next up, we have Maine East.
Our student is not here yet. I believe he's coming. I don't know if we're stuck at a train or.
Okay, so we'll go on, we'll jump over for now, we'll go on to Anna.
Sure. I would like to introduce Anastasia Dalianis as Maine South's 207 Best for Academic Achievement. As you listen to all three of these today, you're going to hear a common thread of students who are just incredibly dedicated, not only to their schoolwork, but just those things that pique their curiosity. And Anastasia is one of those rare students who, I can list what she does in school, and she does almost as much out of school as she does in school, not only in the realm of academics on both sides, music as well, which I'll throw in the academic realm too, but then also in just pursuing other interests for both pleasure and for charity. So a couple of things about Anastasia. All the toughest classes, I think you've had 10 advanced placement courses by the time you graduate with multivariable calculus and differential equations. So your chops as far as that concerned are second to none. There is a theme. She is a cellist as well. In fact, she's the principal cellist of the Midwest Young Artists Conservatory Symphony Orchestra. She is a cellist for the Merkai, am I saying that correct? Merkai, thank you, quartet. And she's part of our symphonic and chamber orchestras as well. She actually has studied and performed at the Bodewin International Music Festival in Maine. She did this past summer. And she performs in outreach concerts around the area. She's performed at Ravinia, Millennium Park, and the Chicago Symphony Center. And when she's not practicing and performing music, she's writing. She's the editor-in-chief of Southwards, our school newspaper, and she was selected for an intensive 5-week journalism program at the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University, and has taken honors-level creative writing courses at Northwestern University Center for Talent Development. So then you would say, okay, so that must take up all of her time. She then, on her own, founded the Young Adult Fiction Universe, which is a book review website with the goal of inspiring middle and high school students to read. Anastasia creates content, reviews books, and the site is featured on the websites of 10 local libraries. And she also launched a virtual book drive to raise funds for her first book, a literacy charity, using her website. So when she's not embroiled in practicing and studying, she's reading for pleasure and making sure everyone else has that same opportunity to do so through the website. So I'm going to read a couple of things. Ms. Ball, who's here this evening, is one of her math teachers. And she stated, on the first day of school last year, Anastasia shared with me that she loved mathematics, and Anastasia continued to show that passion throughout the school year. She's a confident young lady and frequently volunteers to solve complex problems in front of the class. She was willing to create a solution using previous knowledge, and she strove to connect what we were learning currently with previously learned mathematics, science, and social science. Because Anastasia is very well spoken, her presentations are clear, mathematically correct, and interesting to watch. A story that I think does enlighten us as to what kind of person Anastasia is from Mr. Stathakis. Mr. Stathakis is the sponsor of Southward, and he has this really little interesting story about Anastasia when she was a freshman. In my first interactions with Anastasia, I was immediately impressed with her diligence and dedication. The normal application process for our newspaper occurs in the spring, so freshmen don't often begin to work on the newspaper until their sophomore year. Because Anastasia had such a strong desire to contribute immediately, she set up a meeting with me during the first few weeks of her freshman year to inquire about the possibility of joining the staff. I was instantly struck with how poised, confident, and skilled she was. She didn't just bring a desire to write, though she had writing samples to refer to, and showed me a website she created devoted to the reviews of young adult literature. He knew from the start that this was going to be a special member of the staff. She went on and now is the editor-in-chief. Comment about that. Managing newspaper staff members is a difficult task, but Anastasia is a natural leader who is not afraid to demand excellence from her staff members while respecting their individual skills and needs. Because she is well respected and liked, other students are eager to work with her to improve their journalism skills. She has the unusual ability to sensitively and constructively help others become better writers and editors without being condescending or hurtful. I'm proud of all that she has accomplished thus far. She's a true gem in our school, and I couldn't agree more. What strikes me about Anastasia, and you'll see it probably in a few minutes, she is incredibly humble. And I think what she has learned, probably through mom and dad and grandma and granddad who are here today, but also music, which I find something that's really a part of a lot of accomplished musicians, is that as a leader, they understand that as a leader, you need to pull your share of the weight, and at the same time pick up with the others around you to help them do the same. And I can say that about Anastasia, that everything that she touches and is involved with is better because she's part of it. So Anastasia, we're very proud of you. We're excited to watch you leave us in a very short time and go on to what I'm sure will be incredibly successful things. Anastasia. Anastasia, as they bring forth your 207 mug.
And certificate.
And certificate. Who's with you tonight, and what are some of your plans for the future?
I'm here with my mom, my dad, my grandparents. This is George, he's my brother, and Mrs. Ball came too. And next year I'm applying to a number of schools, and my top choices are Yale and University of Chicago.
Very good.
Indeed we do. I'm very pleased to introduce to you. Sorry. So Joseph Varilla, please stand. This is our selection for 207's Best from Maine East. So welcome, Joseph. It's good to see you here. And tell you a little bit about him. Joseph is, I have to admit, I know the name, but I don't know him. I have not met him nor learned a lot about him until about the last 3 weeks or so. And again, it was when we put out the call to faculty about this is the topic, who do we think is going to come up? And this, all of a sudden, it was just bing, 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 bing. I think every teacher that is working with him this year and about half of last year's teachers all came up very consistently with Joseph's name. So as I got a chance to learn again, very much like all students we're hearing about tonight, he is, if we were still doing ranking, at or very near the top of the senior class He's taken AP and accelerated everything. If you take a look at his transcript all the way through, he's a member of the Gifted Lyceum program and has been very active in their philanthropic work, the work program, the work trips that they've done. Freshman, sophomore years, he earned bronze and silver medals on the National Merit Spanish exam. Currently, he's president of the Maine East Robotics team, is a 40 member of the math team, member of the varsity tennis team, belongs to Mu Alpha Theta, the math honorary. He volunteers for McCAF, where he's helping them develop their website. You're going to hear technology through line. As a member of National Honor Society, he leads by example through his enthusiastic and sincere participation in chapter activities. And again, I think it's going to be this sense of sincerity that is a very strong theme through sort of all the testimonials that people gave me about Joseph's work. Wendy Reitz is the sponsor of the NHS. One of our English teachers commented that he is meticulous and thoughtful, asking good questions and helping others with a generous heart. His interests include business, politics, technology, and he enjoys programming. As I polled past teachers, what I sort of did here, I'm not going to read all of these things, but if you have a chance to look at the board book, please take a moment to read some really nice, gracious things. But some of the catchphrases, almost like I were going to advertise the next big movie coming out. Analytical abilities are superb. Great skill in tackling tough problems. He employs a careful, thoughtful approach, persistent in making sure he understands all facets of the problem. Highly regarded by his peers, always willing to help classmates. Sue Clifford, AP Stats teacher, commented after his the first summative exam, Joseph stayed after the bell rang. She let him work through the passing period uninterrupted, but when the passing bell signaling the start of the next class rang, had to tell him the time was up. He was so deep in thought that I don't think he even heard the bell. He was completely absorbed in what he was doing. And it turns out he had finished the test with plenty of time, but he was working on the bonus question and didn't want to leave it unanswered. So he definitely was in a flow moment there in AP Stats. Another teacher commented that he's committed to learning and going beyond just understanding a topic. Several teachers referred to Joseph as a very valuable asset to both the class, to his peers, and to the teacher as well. Another teacher commented that he's clearly an academic leader in class discussion as his keen insight demonstrates deep thought about the literature being studied. Another one of our sponsors referred to him as a quiet giant, just in terms of the amount of effort that he puts into everything he does, his willingness to help others. When she commented about the fact that she's never heard him complain about his workload or the things he does, she said he just simply gets it done with a level head and a gracious heart. His counselor referred to him as one of the most entertaining, sincere, and extremely intelligent young men that she's had the pleasure of meeting at Maine East. I will take a minute to read Mark Dobner's excerpt. Mark was his AP Calc BC teacher last year. Mark said, "Joseph truly is a phenomenal student, consistently thriving in the most challenging courses in our school. No matter how difficult a topic may be, Joseph always rises to the challenge, exhibiting impressive problem-solving skills and thorough analytic thought. He's a phenomenal problem solver who truly embodies perseverance, never giving up until he has reached his goals. What I have greatly appreciated as his teacher is that on top of Joseph's stellar work and commitment to excellence, he seems to genuinely love learning and appreciates the connections he sees between disciplines. In addition, Joseph works well with others and eagerly and patiently assists his classmates should they need help. He is mature behind his years and one of the most delightful young men we have in the school. It was an absolute joy to have Joseph in class last year. He is a gentleman and a scholar." That about says it all. So, choked up. Again, I think he's very nice, kind of matter-of-fact about things as he goes, and we are extremely proud of him. Looking forward to a good year, good 3/4 of a year that lies ahead, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of great options after he graduates from East. So, congratulations, Joseph. Why don't you tell us who is here with you tonight?
Oh, my grandpa's here, my grandma's here, my mom is here. She had to come from downtown. She works for United. And then my dad's here. He drove down from Buffalo Grove. That's where he works. So I think we're like 10 minutes late. We got mixed up at the other building and then came
No
here.
problem, no
That still
problem. It's
happens.
all right. What are your plans next year?
I want to study e-commerce technology at DePaul. I like it because it has a very diverse curriculum. It essentially teaches development, design, and some of the business aspects, including technology.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all our wonderful students and their parents, and friends, and family who are here. This is your opportunity to step outside and maybe get a picture with your principals. And it's also a time if you like not to take on the meeting. I want to see your Please be aware that each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. We appreciate you coming here, but we do have to impose some limits. And with about 20 seconds left, we will let you know by holding a couple cards so that you can First, I have Stefan.
Good evening, Board of Education and Administration members. Stefan Penzlias, President of the MTA. I just wanted to let you know that the MTA leadership was planning on giving a survey to the staff about the proposed hybrid schedule. If the board members have any questions that you would like me to ask of the staff, please feel free to email me. My email is president@mta-207.org. It's also on the blue card that I provided. I did also send you an email this afternoon into your board accounts as well. So that's all I had to say. Thank you very much for your time.
When are you giving the survey?
I'm hoping to be able to give it sometime, or send it out to the staff's personal email addresses sometime later on this week. So within the next couple of days would be ideal, but we do plan on doing other surveys in the future. So if you have other questions.
No, I'm wondering when you'll get the results.
Yes, I should have the results by the next board meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria Jankowski.
Hi, I'm Maria Jankowski. I'm parent of the special students at the 207, and I'm speaking over 1 year here, almost every meeting. Last IEP meeting during the September 6th, Mr. Lee, which is not present today, was asking some questions regarding special education, Dr. Wallace. And what I find out information from Dr. Wallace when he was answering him that Maine East has low incidence students. And why I mentioned that, because I was asking since like March 7 to 14 about description of the programs and level at District 207. And no one answered me. Not one from member of the Board of Education, Dr. Wallace didn't answer, Dr. President didn't answer, no one. Finally, when I came for the registration, my son on August 8th, I was asking new assistant of the special education privately to ask if he can find out for me. And he did. It's a new program, which is one program which he only shared with me, which Dr. Wallace also shared. They was working hard during this summer in 2016. I was requesting observation for that two programs, and finally during the observation, which was happened on 26th, 1 week ago, I find out that East Maine got two programs. I don't know if 2 levels, because today I have the IEP, which was not finished, and they cannot just answer me what's the difference between these 2 programs, but they have like 2 programs of educational life skills programs. I still don't know what kind of different program they have it, and why I'm talking today, because it's a shame for the parents. It's taking so long to find out what kind of program is. How come the Maine South can have it something? How come the Maine West can have some description and some information for special needs students? How come East doesn't have anything. Even I was asking even privately on January 15, Dr. Wallace and Dr. Pressler, and they never responded to that. IEP was meeting today for my daughter, was not finished. I was requesting few people, teacher, previous teacher, former department chairperson, case manager, everybody was denied for the IEP meeting. So today was IEP meeting with the new teacher, new department chairperson, and some staff. That's it. My question is today, I asked Board of Education to vote where my daughter has to go, because Maine Township got a 3 high school, and have to be placement for her. She lost already 1/4 of the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any others? Okay, we have an update on the Schuler Scholarship Program. Great.
Carl Advance, the program director here tonight. The update is on the annual state of the Schuler program in Maine East.
And I do have some paper copies of our presentation if anybody would like one. This is Martin Austin. He is our educational counselor for the Schuler program. And I'm going to ask for your forgiveness. I'm fighting a cold, so I've had my water up here with me, so bear with me. So we're happy to be here and share with you our year in review report for the Schuler program at Maine East High School. First, just a brief overview. We currently have over 1,000 total Schuler scholars in high school and college and beyond. Of those, 56 are Maine East High School scholars and 30 are Maine East College scholars. So we now have a good bulk of students in college and doing really well. And our 2 newest partnership schools include Mundelein and George Westinghouse Prep. And our financial investment in our scholars continues to really be focused in the high school years. So we invest just under $12,000 per scholar per year in the high school years. And that money goes to programs and to mentorship and to enrichment opportunities during school, after school, and in the summer. And for our college scholars, we invest just under $3,000 per scholar per year while they're in college. And that includes a small scholarship as well as other professional development opportunities for the students. So on this slide, if you look at Maine East Schuler Scholars demographic breakdown, you can tell that it looks a little bit different than Schuler's demographic breakdown overall. In part, that is a reflection of Maine East demographics as a school, but we have been making a very concerted effort over the past couple of years to improve our outreach to Hispanic and African American students. And I'm pleased to share that over the past year in particular, we have seen increased recruitment of students from those 2 groups. This data also shows that we are obviously under-recruiting males into our program, and that's something that is a priority for us this year to better understand why that's the case. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, we did increase the recruitment of underrepresented students, as you can see along the top. And as always, most of our scholars continue to be from low-income backgrounds and the first in their families who's in college. And Martin's going to talk a little bit about how our high school scholars are doing.
So thanks, Carly. So our scholars are continuing to perform well in the classroom. Overall, they're earning mostly A's and B's in all of their classes. Scholars are also challenging themselves by taking the most rigorous courses at Maine East. Last year, about 3/4 of all of our scholars were taking at least 1 or more advanced placement classes, and on average earning about 3 or 4 in the AP testing. And also, part of Schuler's mission is to support scholars to gain access into the nation's top competitive colleges, and so we know that standardized testing is a part of that process. So we continue to offer a 10-week ACT prep course, and our data suggests that that continues to be an effective strategy. We're seeing about a 3 to 5 point increase with our scholars, and so that is certainly something that's helping them in the competitive process of getting accepted into colleges. And when we look at scholar attrition, you'll know that last year our attrition was about 10%, and that does continue to be a downward trend from year to year. You'll also notice that our particular attrition rate is lower than the Schuler
were Schuler-wide attrition rate. We like to attribute a part of that downward trend to our refinement of the selection process, but also just as a program, we're constantly looking at how we can better support our scholars. So that's certainly something we're proud of and happy to say. And then when we look at the selectivity of the colleges that our scholars are matriculating to, we use two tools. We use the Barron's College Rating and also the Princeton Review. And by those measures, our scholars are attending some of the nation's most competitive colleges. We're happy to talk about our class of 2016 scholars. We had 9 scholars graduate with the program last year and they've gone on to attend some great colleges. We have Emory University, Colgate, Lehigh, Boston University, Gettysburg College, the University of Richmond, Clark University, Elon, and Tufts. And our scholars are also getting really great financial packages from the colleges themselves. And our average package without loans that they received last year was $47,000, which they won't have to pay back.
And when they get to college, which is equally important, our scholars are really thriving academically. If you take a look at the slide, in the last 2 years, our Maine East college scholars, when they were freshmen in college, earned an average of around 3.5 as their freshman year GPA. So that means they're earning A's and B's at some of the most rigorous colleges in the country. And Schuler scholars do persist at college at a really high rate, and I'm happy to share that Maine East college scholars, all of them to date are still at their institutions to which they matriculated and doing really, really well. So I wanted to take some time to share with you some more anecdotal stories to get past the data a little bit. So some things great news that has been happening in the Schuler program this year. First, the Schuler staff created and facilitated a leadership club at Gemini Junior High School with about 20 consistent members. That started last year and is continuing into this year and has been pretty successful. Last year, Amber Price from the class of 2017 was the runner-up for Illinois State Contest of Poetry Out Loud. 2 of our sophomores attended a summer program with the Center for Conservation Leadership in Lake Forest. Safa Ahmed, a current senior, studied abroad in Nicaragua this past summer with Schuler support. Sebastian Sack, who is now a freshman in college, participated this last summer in a research program at Northwestern. 5 of our college scholars from Maine East obtained summer internships through Stagecourt this past summer, 4 in the city and 1 in Hong Kong. And then Syed, one of our first scholars from the class of 2014, spent his entire last year, his sophomore year of college, studying abroad in Tokyo, and he interned at the Japanese Parliament and had an amazing time. So I also just would like to share with you our priorities for the year going forward. First, we want to continue and expand our community outreach efforts, including a leadership club at Gemini, including outreach events to parent groups, and we've been working with Grounds Public Library to run several events as well. And to partner with Maine East as the school engages in outreach to elementary schools and to students in those optional attendance areas. We also want to continue to build relationships with some of the new principals at schools and districts that do feed into Maine East to make sure they know what Schuler is and to build that relationship and connection. We want to continue to implement those adaptations that have allowed us to connect with a higher number of those underrepresented students this year. We want to work to understand that low recruitment of male scholars. We want to increase the quality and quantity of communication between Schuler and our scholars and their families, particularly as they go into their junior and senior year and their college process approaches. We want to continue to collaborate with Alan Ibrahimovich and the Student Services Department to help our scholars manage the high level of stress that is a part of their daily lives. And we also just want to remain aware of and involved in the district's evolving career initiatives. And at this point, we would love to take any questions.
Just a comment, I'm just so proud of what you do and so happy you're doing it and thrilled with the alliance of Schuler and our schools.
We are too.
Congratulations.
Great. If you have questions, please reach out. My email is carly@schulerprogram.org. Answer any questions later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Update from Central.
Couple of things. First of all, this month is Principal Appreciation Month. We have a resolution that we're going to support to adopt later in the agenda, but I want to take a moment publicly to acknowledge our three high school principals who do one of the toughest jobs in school, and people, unless you've done that job, you have no idea what the requirement is. Jason shaking his head, having done that job, but it is easily one of the most mentally and physically taxing jobs that are out there. We have three really tremendous principals here that have done tremendous things. All of the work that we've done to move our schools forward is largely because of the great work that these three do. So I want to take just a brief moment to acknowledge, again, before we do the resolution, the great work that our three principals do.
This means we have to pass it.
No pressure, but yes, there is a recommendation to pass it.
After all that.
No pressure, no pressure. And then a couple other things. I attended the state superintendent conference last week in Springfield. Actually, it was very helpful. I was able to get plugged into a couple of meetings, met with the state superintendent. Actually did an Ignite session on our coaching plan. The state superintendent attended that. Was able to lobby him personally, but then there was the ICCB was there around dual credit. So we really continue to lobby the state of Illinois to try to have a little bit more traction, something similar to what they did a couple of years ago in the AP Equity Act, where our kids are in the pass score in AP now get guaranteed credit in Illinois State colleges and universities. We need something similar for dual credit, and we also need some legislative help actually creating a system so that our community colleges have to work with us. I told the story there about it's taken us 12 years to get English 101 here, which is the most commonly taught dual credit course in America, and not because the board at Oakton was against it or the president was against it, but it was just simply one person system allowed to block it. So when people hear that type of a story, they really understand the challenges that we face to serve our students better. So all in all, good meetings. And then finally, the last thing, I'm glad that the Schulers were here. I'm sorry that Carly left, but it was the Schuler program, and the principals can confirm this because all of the principals have been here really since the Schuler program has kind of taken off. It really is the Schuler program that at the cabinet level got us first asking the questions, how can we, using the existing resources we have, all of the counselors, all of the social workers, psychologists, our great teachers, our support staff, administrators, how can we reimagine the work that we do to, for all of our students, really try to serve them better. The Schuler program, as everyone knows, really targets very, very talented students from underserved families and populations. And so it's working with kids that probably are going to do really great things in our schools and hopefully beyond anyway. But it's taking that and how can we apply that to the rest of our students that led us to really reimagine our college and career counseling, which is what Carly spoke to, and led us to really begin to ask some really tough questions, because one of the things that Schuler does is they spend a lot of extra time with kids. The depth of what they do, and they don't just spend school time before school and after school. As Mike can tell you, those Schuler kids kind of live in that program. They spend a lot of after school, they spend a lot of weekend, they spend a lot of summertime really doing some of the deep stuff that they did with the kids. We can't fully replicate all of that, but we can begin by looking at the time we can do some things with, and that's here in school, to really try to serve our students better. That's what the whole question of how do we use time is really where it originated from. And so we met with each of the buildings over the last couple of weeks. We had about 35% attendance. Our teachers show up for that, and I'm open to someone who has a better idea. We put that invitation out there. If someone can help us figure out a way, using our existing time footprint and existing resources, to get the type of time, the amount of time that we reimagine to do the work with our students that we need to do. I asked our 3 counseling departments just how many hours of push-in time are they doing right now to do the type of programming that is mission-critical programming. It's over 400 hours of time. And often that's 400 hours includes taking entire classes at one time, when we're taking kids out of class to do mission-critical work, because the way we have our time structured, we don't have time built in our schedule for our college counselors, regular counselors, they have to steal a lot of that time from classroom time. So it's a pretty big lift that we're trying to do here. But Schuler really was, I think, the impetus for us to begin asking the right questions about how we serve students better. And I'll say the rest of it. You've all seen the data, the national data, our local data. There is, just on one key element, there's between a 17 and a 23% gap of our recent high school graduates between low-income students and non-low-income students on college achievement. It's significant. And either we're going to actually have a game plan to do something about that, or we're not. And unfortunately, time is a big element of that. So as we begin to continue to have these discussions, there's a data-driven reason for having a thoughtful discussion about this. Not a hyperbolic, exaggerated discussion, but a thoughtful discussion based on evidence. And the evidence is that we have a compelling call to serve our students better. So it's enough of that. Again, principals, thank you for all the great work you do.
Thank you, Karen. Are there any updates from board members?
I have two brief, as liaison to the Ed Rug Advocacy Group for the school boards and districts. They had an executive retreat, of which Dr. Wallace is one of the members, on September 8th, and we had the advantage for the opportunity to attend that. They really reviewed the mission statement and really moving forward, and also, of course, the burning issues such as ESSA and input in the listening sessions that are happening and will be talked about in Springfield. So Barb would be able to probably expound on that much more, but it was a great group. There's another, next meeting is tomorrow. On Friday is the first kickoff luncheon of all members from noon to 2 on Friday. So that group is strong and moving forward. Also is liaison to the School-Based Health Center that serves all 3 schools, but is housed at East. Dr. Kressler has done a great job running those meetings, and we had the first meeting of the 2016-17 school year. Very impressive group. It's grown, and very impressive group. And 2 things that really stood out to me were the numbers increasing from the other 2 schools where it's not housed, Maine South and Maine West. They're utilizing the School-Based Health Center. I think that's important and impressive. And then really moving towards EMR, the electronic medical record for only service students / patients better, as well as the beginning of telehealth, which I think we're piloting with Maine West. So students don't even have to physically go there. So.
Well, I think if I could piggyback to one person's name hasn't been mentioned who has been investing an enormous amount of time over the last year plus is Mary Kalu, as we're working with Medicaid billing, working with affordable health care. I mean, it's just uncharted territory, and Mary's helping create the map for that, and spending a lot of time, and we are, I think, in very good shape, and it is largely, maybe exclusively, based on the great work she's been doing this last year.
And she always does it with a smile and a sense of humor.
Yep.
I haven't seen her lose her sense of humor yet. Which we like in our finance people.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. So thank you for that. Anything else you wanted to add? I was just, I've been going to that in various capacities for numerous years, and I'm just really impressed how it's grown and how it's expanding and the strength of it.
Well, Sean and I are both active members of the advisory board, the group that meets quarterly as well. So, no, I think we're continuing to grow and evolve, and change is the new constant based on a lot of the technology and governance that's sort of coming at us and changing on, seems like, on a weekly basis. So.
And I think Sean and Audrey have helped get that word out for the students, that it's not, even though it's not housed there, that it's open to them, which I thought that would be impressed. So I just wanted to share this. Any other updates from board members? Okay. Do we have a finance committee update?
We did not have a quorum, so we did not call the meeting over.
Buildings and grounds?
Yes, Buildings and Grounds met on September 28th, and there were several things discussed. The first one was the White & Company agreement, and that was very
updated the committee and let us know that we were in year 5 of a 10-year plan. And the current plan is very mechanical heavy and instructional light. And so we really needed to update the plan. And she brought forth a possibility for an agreement with White to update the plan. But when we looked at the numbers and we spoke about it, we agreed to table the motion until we got more information about the quote. But still want to pursue that option, but not necessarily that agreement. The next thing that we talked about was that when the asbestos abatement was done for the main east mechanical room, that left piping without coating, and so as a result, we needed to put in insulation, and there was a change order that we approved for that. And then the next thing was summer projects for 2017, and the big thing that we have to do is replace south and west boilers and hot water heaters, and they're both original to the building and are going to cost a lot of money. But so we need to talk about that and the asbestos removal that's going to go with that, and we're going to do that at the next Buildings and Grounds meeting. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that was a very good summary.
Okay. Thank you very much, Terry. Policy committee update?
So the policy committee also met on the 28th. We have 2 policies for first reading tonight. One is updating the policy 2650, which is abused and neglected child reporting. It is much more detailed and adds a lot of detail to the requirements for when reporting must be made, and so that would be first reading. And then we're having a new policy, policy 4002, which is compliant with the Fair Labor Standards Act policy we haven't had before. This is a press policy. Yes. And the final item, which we won't be bringing tonight, but it's a philosophical discussion on our board policies and moving away from the very custom policies that we've had, moving more towards the press policies. And we're in agreement to do that, and we'll be moving forward, starting with the 1000 series, which helped bring to the board in another 1 or 2, and we'll work our way through all of those series before within the next year or 2 years.
Okay. Monthly status of finances, Mary?
Their education committee met.
Oh, sorry.
Education committee met on September 29th, starting at 3 o'clock for approximately an hour and a half. Very significantly and very impressively, career coordinator Dr. Laura Cook presented on the career exploration initiative, which started from 2014. She did a very detailed and extensive, comprehensive, excellent job of showing the growth in that program and all the work that's been put into it. And the more that we can all talk about it, everyone at this table, everyone in the gallery, the better, because it's just serving our students better and better every year. Internships have more than doubled, and partnerships have shown an even larger increase. The challenge continues to be to find partners who will take a student in this program. I think the initial reticence of entities to do so working with students has been overcome by this program. It's really been impressive. So continuing to get the word out is really what she's working on. But really some great, just some great work done. And it was really highlighted. So we asked the board to have a condensed version of it because it's highly dense and we'll have that. And then hopefully try to get the word out even more in the community, because we also highlight all the great work and how these are helping these students go now in college readiness, but vocational readiness, but then also how the community might respond and give these kids or young adults opportunities.
If I could just piggyback that for a minute, I think what Laura's doing is, there's really not a blueprint for her. So it's very impressive, and her successes are also impressive, but she does need support and ways to reach out to people in the community. It's just like any kind of networking, and so whatever we can do to help her with that
And whatever suggestions we have,
One of
because
the-
to keep it moving, because there's a very aggressive goal, a line like this to increase over the next several years, and we really want to help her in every way we can.
Well, the other challenge that we've got, maybe the biggest challenge, is we've had to really, and we continue to really reimagine those internships.
Yes.
So we've only had one sort of model, and that was the credit-bearing class. The vast majority of our kids will never take that class. So it's looking at summertime, it's looking at time differently. It's looking at windows, it's looking at non-credit internships. And the principals have all done a good job, but Sean in particular at South has done a really nice job of, just as he has his parent meetings, really soliciting memberships, and all of our principals have done that, but we have a lot of parents, for example, we're small business owners or large business owners, and so we've done Sean in particular, I know, has gotten several leads. The other thing I would encourage everybody here at the board, you're all connected in multiple networks, that's everybody out here. So I've tried to metacognitively, as I go to meetings, when I'm sitting around a table with people and they may have a business, have you thought about, doing a partnership, and just, we've gotten a few leads like that. So if everyone sort of increases the networking, that's what it's gonna really take, is really just continue to build those networks. And you're right, the success that our kids have had and the feedback that we've gotten from our business partners, that's what will make the program better.
So we just go back, I even owe Sean Hesmer names, and we're just trying to, that I promised a while ago, but and then some of it, it's not, you get an internship and, oh great, we got it for life. Some of these, they get them and they like them so much, they hire them, and then the internship opportunities come. So it's a very evolving process, so it's something we have to keep hardwired, but keep evolving with it and keeping it involved. So it's very exciting, it was excellent. We spoke for quite a while, and I think it was worth the couple minutes we took here. Director of Assessments and Grants, Dr. Don Marzal, also went through ESSA, SAT, PSAT, the battery test, the PERA. Do you pronounce that, Carol? Yeah, we use that. So, in the different district benchmarks, multiple measures, as well as a preview of the ACT Board report. Most significantly, he highlighted that the class of 2016 was the last class that could take the ACT. The state paid ACT, so we're shifting to the battery test for the SAT. Barb's, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I think in meetings forthcoming, more and more information will be coming out about that. Is that a correct statement? Do you want to add anything, Barb?
Well, we have the ACT report tonight, which we went into more detail at the IP meeting. But I think you asked for a summary for the board members, again, of what the various tests were.
Yes.
That family suite of opportunities. So we'll be putting that together along with the extra information.
Yeah, it was a tremendous amount of information. I thought it would be helpful for all of us to have it. Or maybe for me. But I thought it was worthwhile to learn it. And then also, we're going over for first reading tonight, the new course reading proposals were also discussed, and then the meeting was adjourned at 4:33.
Can I just add to you, I want to give Sean credit. I happened to go to his meeting, and I was really impressed with the idea of reaching out to alumni. Unfortunately, it was like Friday night before a football game, but
it was before homecoming.
It could have been good, and it could have been, it could have been either way. But, the thing that always impresses me about the Maine Township community is how many people stay here. I mean, they stay here. They go to school here and they stay here. And I think that, I could be wrong, but I don't think every school district has that. And I think that it's a great idea to take advantage of that.
I'm counting the people that are here that have stayed here, just at this table.
Yeah.
Majority.
Yeah, and I think that's just, anyway, I thought that was a great resource to capitalize on, and that was a nice job, Sean.
Thank you. Okay. Now we can move on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I guess I didn't realize it was October already. Janice Spector Bishop from District 63 is going to do a seminar reaching out to realtors and the school district October 21st. So Dr. Walsh will be there, Dr. Presser will be there, and it will be an opportunity. And I think Schuler should be there as well as Laura Cook, that's what made your remember. So we're doing more to build up 63 feeding into maintenance.
21st of October.
Yeah, Friday, October 21st.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the monthly status of finances. Mary?
In your board packet is the August financial information. On the revenue side, you can see the percentages kind of split into two. So funds that are primarily funded through property taxes, we've collected about 45% of the revenue in those funds. Funds that are either interest driven, interest income driven, or have a more regular cycle, and you'll see that those percentages on revenues are in the teens. You'll see a similar thing on the expenditure side where everyone's in the teens except those funds that pay capital projects, because summertime is capital projects season. So the O&M fund and the Health, Life, Safety, and Fire Prevention Fund, their expenditures, while they seem higher than the percentage of the year, it's because of those capital projects and they'll be within budget. So I will take any questions that anybody has on the August financial statements.
Thank you very much, Mary. Instructional services.
Sure. The first report that you have there is one that we do see every time this year, at this time of the year, the demographics report. And I'm just going to make a couple of big picture comments. One is that I tend to look at this report not necessarily from year to year, because I think some of the numbers can blip up or blip down depending on the particular cohort of the class. But I think if you really look at it over the longitudinal length of time here, like I was looking back to the year before I started here, 2008, compared to today. And what stands out to me are some of the trends that have occurred in our district. For example, looking at the East data, for example, it's perhaps most glaring, but you've got our profile of our students back in 2008, 24.6% low income, and the recent 2016 data is 46.4%. So it's not quite double, but almost double in terms of the low income. The same kind of trend, you can see at West as well. They've gone from about 20.75% to 39.4%. So this is a challenge that we have looked at and looked at dealing with over time. And another reason why some of the creative thoughts about use of time and bringing our SPS to bear to help with some of the needs of our students is particularly important. You can also look at some of the trend lines on our limited English proficient students and comparing 2008 against 2016. Perhaps most glaring at East, but it's certainly something in the district that's been an increasing trend. On a positive note, or a slightly uptick note, if you look at the graduation rate between the last couple of years, all three high schools had a significant increase in their graduation rate, and put out a question to them as to what they thought might be the reason for that. And one of the things that we think is starting to kick in is our credit recovery program. Some of our online learning opportunities, through Apex and other methods, perhaps some of our RTI interventions, but I think that's something that we're going to be watching to see whether or not that continues in that vein. In terms of our profile, in terms of our ethnicities, really it's tracking about the same way it has. Our Hispanic population is continuing to rise slightly. Overall enrollment is just up maybe 50 students, but where we're seeing the increase is in our Hispanic population, in our low-income population, etc. So those are just some big takeaways. And really, I would just encourage you to look at kind of longitudinally over time and realize some of the interventions and some of the programs that we're developing are responding to that.
And I've shared this with Barb, but I think it's worth sharing with everyone else. You know, obviously, the national data, like on race and ethnicity, doesn't get very granular. And so we've discovered that in our community health needs assessment for the hospital. You know, we go out beyond, within white, like for instance, the Polish population is growing rapidly as well. It's huge for our main township is estimated. We're the only state in the United States that the third most popular language is Polish. And that's a vastly growing demographic for main township, as well as the South Asian and Korean populations, which all just fall under Asian. So we've really got, you know, it's hard to get that data. You have to do the American Community Survey, which is taking polls from the census, but you can only do it by zip code level, which we've done at the hospital. So some of that data can supplement here because a lot of it focuses on the township, but not only the diversity, you know, Hispanic is considered ethnicity, but it's interesting to see the granular changes in our diverse population across years. We have more granular data on that if anyone would ever want that. That's going to be part of our community assessment that it's tied with our work.
We don't have that, okay?
When I say we might not have it.
Yeah.
But we don't have the ability to do that.
But we will share because it's going to be a public one.
Well,
But it
where,
wouldn't relate to our students.
we were just having this discussion, well, the challenge for us is we're looking at things like how do we close the equity gap. Okay, so we just had this discussion at the cabinet level. Part of the problem is that the way that reporting happens in the state of Illinois, it's very difficult with precision for exactly what you said to get the granular details sometimes that you need. Like we think we might be closer to equity than we think we are, but because of the way the data is reported. So a student who reports as multiracial instead of Hispanic, for example, or multiracial instead of African American or vice versa, that can change the data in terms of the equity profile. So getting that specificity is a little bit of a challenge for us.
And it's only how they self-report.
And it's self-report, and so we don't have the ability to apply anything else but the way that it's reported either by the parent or student.
Right.
I think it's also interesting when you look on page 12 at the dominant language groups for each of the schools, and you mentioned Polish has surfaced in at least, well, all three of our schools. But we need to support these students, and we have often supported them through finding teaching assistants and so forth, or aides who have, that language capacity. It's very difficult in some of these language groups to find a certified teacher who has that language. And that's increasingly becoming something under the bilingual grants that we have to pay attention to. So I've been in conversation with Ellen Thomas about some of those issues as we address them for the future. Any other questions on the demographic part? Okay, just briefly on the ACT report, because we did go into a lot of detail at the meeting. And by the way, thank you to Don Marzoff and Dan Bacher for both of their efforts on these reports. Don is here this evening if you've got granular questions on the ACT report. But remember that this is a report reflecting the ACT scores of juniors who took the test largely on March 3rd, although if they had any more recent ACT score, that was included. Please remember that Illinois is one of 20 states where everybody took the ACT test. Even though we're moving away from that, this report still reflects that. So when you look at comparisons to state and national averages, we have all of our kids taking it, and some states do not. And as a district, we are beating those state and national averages. I think.
And Don, didn't Don, excuse me for interrupting, but didn't Don also say that this data includes where they just started recently within the last year counting additional students like on 504s or.
That extended time.
I think it was 3 years ago, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
that
it was a few
shifted
years
some,
ago.
yeah.
So in some of the graphs, I've shown both with the extended time included or without the extended time.
I
So
got,
that's
I
the
get out of
other
the
one.
line, actually,
I think the biggest factor that correlates to the trends that we see here, again, goes back to the trend line that we have of our local economy, nearly doubling in the last 5 to 10 years. So, in many cases, we've really fought back against that challenge, but it continues to be one. John, do you want to add anything else?
I just wanted to emphasize that these were the students that took the state-funded ACT on, the vast majority of them, on March 3rd, which is 6 or 7 weeks earlier than the other cohorts. So that's quite a bit of instructional time that is reflected in the other scores that's not reflected in this graduating class.
But this forthcoming year, the SAT will be back to April, so we won't have that loss of.
Yeah, we'll actually have one more year, because these students are graduated. Our juniors, remember, we paid for as a district to all take the ACT on April 19th. So we're, yeah, so it reflects the shifting sands under our feet with respect to assessment.
We have 1 or 2 more years of UCAS data. 1 more year of UCAS report, which is historic. Then we get to switch it all up and go to PSAT and SAT. To that end, the next report is just a simple listing of this year's students who received the distinction of the 2017 National Merit Semifinalist Award. We had 11 students, and we go to the second page of the report, you can see how those split out by building. It's up slightly from last year, but again, these numbers go up and go down. I think this is going to be interesting to watch now, because when we switch to this family of tests, and we have the support from Khan Academy, which is going to be attached to SAT, and we're going to have many more, all of our students taking these tests. We'll have a bigger pool of students from which to pull this data.
The list should grow.
It should grow.
Isn't the national merit, that's based on the SAT, right?
On the PSAT.
Or PSAT?
PSAT and MSQT.
So,
They take these juniors.
but how is it decided now that who takes that test?
Now,
Yeah.
or
I'm sorry?
now it's voluntary.
Oh, it's all volunteer, okay, so,
Well,
all right.
until October, which all sophomores and juniors, we are administering the SAT and SAT.
The ACT will go away and the SATs will move them.
The ACT has gone away. It
Yeah.
has left the building, so.
Thankfully.
So, okay, now I see why it's definitely gonna go up.
Yeah. Although we are probably still going to have a number of students who also take the ACT test on their own. And we will have that data, but it'll be a much smaller set. Good.
Well, and I didn't realize Don was here, so I have to, he did just as great a job as Laura, in great depth explaining all of this, so I just wanted to commend him too at the meeting. A lot of changes and explaining it, like Barbara said, we're good. Sorry to interrupt you, Barbara.
No, not a problem. So the last report here is the collection of course proposals, course revisions, and title changes that we're bringing before you for first reading, and we'll bring them back in November for second reading and hopefully approval. You have the packet split into your board book, and I'll briefly go over what you have in front of you. There are 5 new course proposals, 1 in English, 2 in science, 1 in fine arts, and 1 in social science. The course proposal in English, Science, and Literature is a semester course with a focus on bringing in front of students STEM-related reading, nonfiction, science reporting, some fiction writing, but really to kind of tie into the kinds of reading that will not only help students improve their skills that are reflected in the Common Core, but tying into a high interest area in STEM fields. That'll be a semester course. It's coming on board at West, and they're predicting about 60 kids probably will take that.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
It's, is it technical reading? Is it more along those lines?
Some of it is reported in the description of the science reporting reading, but I think it'll be a mix.
Okay, and is
Audrey,
it-
do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Is the teacher science, English, where does, how's that?
It's an English teacher.
English.
This is an English course delivering a semester of English credit. I particularly like the idea because I think it starts to break down some of the walls and have a bit of an interdisciplinary feel to it. I know my son would prefer taking this than British literature, which unfortunately was my major.
Who wouldn't?
Yes. Beowulf or, okay. The two science semester electives are occurring at South as a proposal. They have been in a process to revise their science sequence in a lineup that is more similar to what West has, so that they have a full year of biology, a full year of chemistry, a full year of physics. And these two courses are going to provide for probably the non-AP science students some regular level choices during that fourth year so that they can consider having a fourth year of science. A year in which they will be using the skills they learn in biology, chemistry, and physics, but in maybe some more high interest areas, space science and forensic science. And one of those might in the future be called a dual credit course to investigate each of them a semester, and they will give them semesters worth of credit, and they're going to be replacing, or I should say, going from the schedule will be chemistry 2 and physics 2. The last two courses are AP courses. The first one is AP Studio Art 3D Design. This is for fine arts students. The students right now take AP 2D Design. This is going to give them a 3D option that's clearer about what the curriculum is that they might be working on, and gives them an alternative AP course to take at that level. And the very last course is AP Human Geography. This is a course proposal that is coming out of East for now, with the likelihood that the other schools will consider it. One of the interesting things that just came out from the group of catechist schools that I'm a part of is that this seems to be a course that's gaining some traction there. I saw a survey today of about 30 catechist schools, and more than half of them have this course placed for grades 9 through 12. About a third of them are looking at grades 9 and 10. We have some continuing conversations going on with our MCC about what would be the appropriate grade level to place it at, but it seems like it could be a great course as an entry-level course for students to try out an AP course, and it might also be a great course for an upperclassman to take who is finding that now he has the skill set, he or she has the skill set to take an AP, and this would be one to plug in. Those are the 5 new courses. The course revisions are pretty self-explanatory in the description. Digital imaging out of fine arts is just changing the prerequisite requirement, no longer needing 1 year of a previous art class And the three title change courses, media production to broadcasting is more descriptive, as is culinary 3 to gourmet cuisine and culinary 2 to baking and pastry. And I know that Becky Stewart and Kim Jablonski, our CTE division chairs have, or department chairs have worked on making sure that these descriptions fit the pathways in a more descriptive fashion.
Just a question, I can't seem to parse out of the description of AP Human Geography. What is it a geography? Or, is it movement of people over time, just generally?
Yes.
Thank you.
All of the
Okay.
above.
Okay.
A lot of demographic information, and also, really people's interactions with the land, and sort of how culture developed around.
Yeah, movement of cultures and
Populations, I think there's going to be some
A lot of
statistics in
population,
there.
a lot of
Very
statistics
interesting.
involved.
And one other question, do these generally come up in courses, from at the teacher level, at the principal level, how do they?
They generally probably come up from the department, discussions in the departments. It might be a teacher, might be the department as a group. They move up through the building, administrative councils.
So the department heads come forward and recommend something and then you, okay.
Right.
Then it
The
comes to you.
MCCs look at them, they come over to the instructional team. They get shared with our cabinet, and then they come before you.
It's the first reading tonight.
Right, and in all of these, there is no request for extra FTE. So I think within the existing FTE, we have.
Thank you very much, Barb. Lots of information, lots of information. Okay, Ken, is there a monthly update on FOIA requests?
This is much work in process.
You said 6. Okay, policies and procedures. First reading.
Yes, we have 2 policies that were reviewed by the policy committee last week. Both of those were recommended by the committee to bring forward to the full board for a first reading, and that's what you're seeing here today. Number 2650 is the abused and neglected child reporting responsibility policy. That was a policy that we recently revised in 2013, and it's one of our few policies that was verbatim from the Illinois Association of School Boards Press Policy Series. As you know, periodically that organization redoes and revises their policies in responses to changes in laws. And one of the laws that is new regarding hazing is now implemented in this policy. So this is an update based on the press recent update. The second one is actually it's a new policy, but it's not a new law. It's a federal law called the Fair Labor Standards Act. It's something that we have always followed in this district. It mostly pertains to our hourly wage employees, or what we call our non-exempt classification of employees. And this is something that while we follow the law, because we didn't have anything necessarily in our handbooks, because we didn't have a policy on it, it's pretty confusing sometimes to our staff members. And so this is an example of a press policy that I'm recommending that we adopt. We put it in our policies manual, and then we would also be placing it in the handbooks for our support staff so that they have access to what this really means and says. So both of these are for first reading. I'd be happy to answer any questions on either of these, or if you have other questions later, I can answer those through phone call or email.
Just want to mention, we did have a little tweak on the press policy, I think, that we recommended, that was recommended at the committee level.
Yeah, the policy initially said that the non-exempt employees shall not work overtime without his or her supervisor's express approval. We want to get prior written approval in there just to have more certainty.
Supervisor's prior written approval.
I And that's something, you know, even adopting the press policies, those are changes that committee can recommend and make. So it's not that you're rigidly held to, you know, if there is some modification we want to make, we can do that. Okay. Thank you. All right. Could I have a motion on the consent agenda, items 8A through F? So move 8A. Okay, so items 8B through F. Have a motion? Thank you, Mary. Is there a second? Okay. Discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. Ginny, would you take the roll?
Bessler. Aye. Childers. Aye. Collins. Aye. Lee. McGrath. Aye.
Oh, aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 8A, minutes from the regular board meeting of September 6th, 2016?
Move that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ginny, please take the roll.
McGrath. Abstain. Lee.
I said aye.
Collins. Aye. Childers.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion approving the 2015 to 2016 audit?
So moved. Second.
This is the recommendation is that the Board of Education accepts the audit reports for Maine Township High School District 207 and the North Suburban Educational Region for Vocational Education, NSERC, for the year ended June 30th, 2016. Further recommend the Board of Education direct the Secretary of the Board to make these audits a part of the permanent school district records and file the same with federal, state, and regional offices in accord with the legal obligations of the district. I do want to mention that although there wasn't a quorum for the Finance Committee meeting on September 28th, there were several people in attendance, board members in attendance, and we were able to hear a summary from the auditors and receive draft copies of it. Just wanted to make note of that. Is there any discussion?
I would say if you only want to read two parts of the audit instead of going through several hundred pages, you want to read the management discussion and analysis in the comprehensive financial report as well as the footnotes. Reading those two things will give you a good overview of the financial performance of the district as well as the significant accounting functions that we are subject to.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to make one comment. This was the first year that these auditors were, our new auditors, missing the name.
Either.
And as usual, Mary and her staff did a fabulous job. There were, I don't think any significant items raised. There was one control issue, which they hadn't even finished the audit and Mary fixed that. So, the audit reflects the great work that Mary and her team did.
And it was the initial comment from the auditors. Your job is made much easier because of the excellence and professionalism. So thank you.
Well said.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. So let's take a vote on the motion.
McGrath.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Bessler. Childers. Lee. Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 10, insurance renewal? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, would you like to go over this a little bit?
On an annual basis, we bring you the insurance renewal for the next calendar year. There are some minor prescription drug changes that we're going to implement January 1st, much of that to try and control cost in advance of the ever-growing cost of prescription drugs, particularly in the specialty area. Those are outlined with removal of the 90-day specialty drug programs, a step therapy expense is written, as well as a formulary step therapy. In terms of the insurance rates, our rates are increasing 5.7% on the PPO and 5.1 on the HMO. That continues to be below medical trend, but this is the one area of the budget that if someone could tell us how to contain medical expenditures to CPI or below, I would be truly impressed on how to hear that, yeah, so.
And given the rest of the world,
I think the numbers are pretty good, given some of the information that I've seen from other school districts.
And I would note that they are far below what's happening in the general, employer-sponsored health insurance world.
And this year, 2016 has been better than 2015.
Knock on wood. Yeah, so one of the other things that I should point out too is we are making a shift in the administration of our RX benefits because the United States doesn't have a national program for drugs. Every plan is charged a different amount. So we're now becoming a bigger fish. We're joining with RX Benefits, who represents about 100,000 lives instead of the 4,000 that belong to Scrim. So we are able to get better drug pricing and better prescription drugs. We anticipate that in the coming year, that'll save us about $800,000 to $1 million.
In the coming year?
Yeah, so part of that's in increased rebates, part of that is in lower drug costs. What they did is they took every one of the drugs prescribed in a 12-month period and made the assumption if these were the same drugs prescribed under our program, here's what the rebates and savings would be. So we're cautiously optimistic.
So the plan and rates have gone up, the rates have gone up somewhat.
Between 5.7 on PPO and 5.1 on the HMO.
And then with the modifications to the benefits, yes. None of which, by the way, are taking away someone's right to use a particular drug, but sometimes you have to
follow,
jump through more hoops.
And the example I use is this year, well, everyone knows about EpiPens. So, but a more extreme example is there was a company who had a malaria drug, an anti-malaria drug. The drug used to cost $800 for a 3-month supply. It now costs $45,000 for that 3-month supply. We had one prescription written for that drug. Had we had a control in place that said least expensive step therapy, there is another anti-malaria drug that costs between $600 and $800. That is what the person would have been prescribed. My guess is the employee of this district has no idea that the drug they were prescribed cost $45,000. Yeah. But it's because the drug company sets the price. And we saw that with the EpiPens on a large scale.
All right, any questions or comments on any of this? Okay. Judy, would you take the roll, please?
McGrath.
Aye.
Bessler. Aye. Lee. Collins. Childers.
Aye.
Owen. Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 11A, some graduation ceremonies at Rosemont Theater? So moved. Brief summary, Mary? This is just.
Yeah, this is our annual contract with Rosemont Horizon. $63,000 is the same amount as last year. I think there was a small modification to the time, but other than that, it's all 3 buildings, same day. Saves us $12,000 over when we used to do it on different days.
Any questions or comments?
It is a 1-year contract.
1 year, Jen.
That's all they offer us. Same price as last year, $63,000.
All right, anything else?
Lee. Childers.
Aye.
McGrath. Aye. Bessler. Aye. Collins.
Aye. Owen. Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 11B, site license agreement, Advocate Healthcare?
I'd like to make a motion to table the agreement until it can be discussed further.
Discussion or questions? Okay. Could
McGrath. Lee. Collins. Childers. Bessler. Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 11C?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Greg, brief summary?
Yes, Riz is a company that produces platforms for digital interviewing, and I'm excited to bring this forward to the board as a nice way to efficiently and effectively interview our candidates for the various positions that we post. Not just our teaching positions and some of our support staff positions, but the plethora of people who apply for some of our extracurricular positions as well. And so the nice thing about this is you can set up your questions ahead of time, and that person has the ability to respond either through their smartphone or any webcam embedded device. And they can do it at 2 in the morning if they wanted to. And as a matter of fact, we interviewed a person from Poland using the software that we had for a 3-week trial. And I've been using it for substitutes. So our athletic directors are excited about the ability to screen coaching candidates while they're out on the fields, observing practices. And so.
And also it allows a number of people, if you have a number of people who want to interview the person, they can do it on their computers.
Absolutely. Yeah, both one-way interviewing and two-way interviewing features with this, and the ability to share those interviews with anybody that you want, both internally and externally.
Any questions or comments?
What's the amount?
7,500. 7,500.
Take the roll.
Bessler. Childers. Collins. McGrath. Lee. Owen.
Aye. Okay, I have a motion on item 11D. This is on the Maine East Pool account.
Also to approve. Second.
This is a change order for installation on piping. So in the mechanical room, we had pipes that we are replacing as part of that, and we had pipes that we were leaving as part of that. When they did the containment, they did the abatement on all of the pipes, so now we have a clean asbestos-free room. In the mechanical contract, the installation on the existing pipe is not included because they weren't installing it, so this change order covers the installation, not the existing pipe.
Questions? Comments? Okay. Take the roll, please.
Lee. Lee. Childers. McGrath. Collins. Bessler. Owen.
Aye. Could I have a resolution on National Principals Month? Now, would you like someone to read that resolution? The recommendation.
I'll read it. A recommendation that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to honor the service of all high school principals and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to a high-quality education and to celebrate school leaders' accomplishments. Maine Township High School District 207 recognizes the month of October 2016 as National Principals Month.
Okay. All right. I don't think we should discuss. Okay. Call the roll, please.
Bessler. Childers. Collins. Lee. McGrath. Owen.
Aye. Okay, could I have a motion for item 13? This is a resolution of intent to issue working cash bonds.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution declaring the intention to use $9,800,000 working cash fund bonds of Township High School District Number 207, Cook County, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district and directing that notice of such intention be published in the manner provided by law.
Second. Thank you. In view of the current financial condition of the district, the Board of Education would like to consider the adoption of a resolution declaring its intention to issue $9.8 million working cash fund bonds pursuant to Article 20 of the school code and directing that notice of such intention be published. Is there any discussion, questions? Mary, do you want to
So
go over
as
this?
we talked about earlier, we have 2 schools with original boilers. Boilers are expensive. It would be our intent to issue the working cash fund bonds, do a partial abatement, and this would provide the funding source for those boilers. We simply cannot afford as a school district to continue to take $10 million out of our cash reserves on an annualized basis for our buildings.
Questions, comments? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Collins.
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye.
McGrath. Aye. Lee. Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 13?
14.
I'm sorry, 14? Yep.
I move that the Board of Education adopt a resolution calling a public hearing on the 7th day of November 2016 at 6 p.m. concerning the intent of the Board of Education of Township High School District Number 207 for County, Illinois, to sell $9,800,000 working cash fund bonds for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district.
I second. And this is just the formal notice.
Right, this is the resolution. What happens is the board passes the resolution, then we have the public hearing, and then we wait 30 days after the public hearing for parameters resolution.
It's really in case anyone wants to dispute the
Correct.
challenge. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, call the roll, please.
McGrath.
Aye.
Lee. Collins.
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Bessler. Owen.
Aye. Okay, moving on to calendar items. Are there any changes? Yeah, you've had quite a few committee meetings just recently, so I'm not sure if we have one coming
I
up.
have to have another policy committee meeting.
Okay.
So go through the 1,000 series policies that we spoke of earlier. We also have a change to our, that we need to discuss on our student residency policy in response to a state law. I just got a revised draft back from our law firm. I will have that done by January 1st.
And in October, we'll also have finance to go over the tax levy and buildings and grounds to look at the capital projects for 17-18.
Two
So I'll
dates to be
reaching out for
determined.
some dates.
Same with, same with,
Yes.
okay. Anything else, Jen? Anything else on this? Okay. Okay. Communications and public comments, any others? Once again, please be aware that each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and we will give you a notice at 20 seconds. Tom Jankowski.
Hi, everyone. I just have 3 questions tonight. And this is really directed to Dr. Barbara Barca. Will you be releasing like a yearly or semi-annual statement on special education of this district? Like, for instance, what's the district doing regarding special education? Something like, for instance, their advancements in individual schools, so we could have something. Because I've been here over 1 year, and I haven't heard anything, so I'd like to know if the district has any plans of doing something. The next thing is, how about getting some special education students and parents in here to the board meetings for their accomplishments of what's going on with special education departments? This would really help out, because we're already really the only 2 that are coming, my wife and I, it seems like, regarding special education. So I'd like to see some parents get involved, maybe something that towards technology that they're introducing, where kids that are disabled, or special needs, that are using devices now, that's helping out in their education and services or whatever. And the last question I have is, and I don't want to get too detailed in it, and there's no data or tests involved in this, but what method do you have in evaluating teachers, special education teachers for the district? I'd like to know. What I'm talking about, like, what kind of system are you using to evaluate these teachers? That's all. I don't want to know teachers' names or data or anything like that. I just like to know what type of system you're using. And that's it. Good evening.
Thank you. Okay, could I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of reviewing closed session minutes and probable imminent or pending litigation?
Second.
Bessler. Childers. moved. I
Is there a
move that
second?
we return to open session.
Second.
Madam President.
Take the roll, please. McGrath.
Aye.
Lee. Collins.
Aye.
Childers. Bessler.
Aye.
Owen. Aye. Okay. Could I have a motion on item 19 with the addition of an addendum, with an addendum, state that a little differently. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay.
19 is,
19 is support.
the additional person, the new person, it's a new position,
New TA.
but it's a new position.
Correct? This one?
It's not a replacement, it's a
It's
new.
not a new position, it's a replacement.
The addendum, this one here? Which one are you, this one?
It was added. It was,
What?
To support staff.
I read it as a new position.
It's the.
Oh, this is the SB, this is the REA stuff. This is in response to this new
SB 100.
SB 100 law where we basically can't suspend students out of school except for some very specific reasons, principally around whether or not they're a threat to other students. So that's to,
We cannot.
yes, that was a change in law last year. Yeah, this is, we talked about this at Ed Red.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second, and we know that this is a new kind of required position. It's an addendum and it's a new position. Okay. Any questions or comments? Take the roll, please. Lee? Aye. Collins?
Aye.
McGrath?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Are there any other items? I don't think so. Okay.
Closed session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming to it, yeah. Can I have a motion on item 21, approval of closed session minutes?
So moved.
Can I have the-
Second.
Okay, and these are the closed session minutes for September 6, 2016. Okay, turn them in. Could you please take the roll? Bessler? Childers? Collins? Lee? McGrath?
Abstain.
Owen? Aye. Could I please have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?